Today on Papaw's Projects, we are going to do another Blender Basics. So stick around and let's have some fun. Okay, so on today's episode, what we are going to do is we're going to do a little playing with some basic animation using keyframes in Blender. Before we get started, I do want to ask, I would certainly appreciate it if you would take the time to click on the subscribe button and help me grow my channel. So, to get started in Blender Basics on animation, what we're going to have to do obviously is start up Blender. So let's do that. Switch to screen share and bring up Blender. Now, in my Blender, I like to work in a clean area, so I've already removed the cube. I've deleted the camera, deleted the light. I can add those back later. And then I also like to operate in ortho view, so that is 5 on the number pad. And I also like to start out from the top view. So that's number 7 on the number pad. So we've got a nice clean slate here to get started. The first thing we're going to need to do is we're going to need some things to animate. So let's go to create, and this is going to be very basic. I'm not going to get too detailed. You could go on forever in the detail of your animation, and I'll leave that up to you guys. I am still working on different animations myself, but it's kind of fun once you get started, and it seems like once you get into it, you find more details that you want to change or add or make better, and before long you can wrap a lot of time up in it. But to me, it's very fun. But I'm just going to show you today just the basics of creating an animation, and there are a lot more tools in Blender that you can use as you get some experience. So we're going to start with the basics. First thing we're going to need to do is we're going to need to get something to animate. Let's see. This looks like a traffic cone. Let's go with that. Okay. So let's set us a traffic cone up here. And let's go front view, and let's bring it above the plane and drop it. Okay, that was number 1 for front view, number 7 for top view. Okay, also, before I forget, let's get a couple other things set up. Let's put a plane in here. Let's give it a tabletop, and let's scale S, and let's scale that sucker up. Okay, so we've got a tabletop or a floor or something to work on. And let's see, let's go over here, this little round material ball in this toolbar. Let's click that, and let's give this tabletop a color. So we're going to create a palette right here in this box that we can call on later. So I'm going to hit the plus, add a new material, and I'm going to go to the material list, and I'm going to pick white, and as bright a white as I can get, and that will be our first color. While I'm doing this, I might as well set a few other colors. Let's add another one, and I'm just going to put a few basic colors in here, and I'm going to say new, and traffic cones are usually an orange. See if we can find a good orange. That looks like a decent orange. Okay, and let's add another one. Oh, I don't know, whatever we make. Let's put a blue in here. That'll work. And let's add another one, and we'll put a green in here, and let's add one more, make it a yellow. Okay, so that gives us a little color palette to work with, save us some time while I was already in there. Okay, So let's go back to the cone. I'm going to select it. You can click on the cone itself, or you can click it in this menu right here. So now my cone is selected. I'm going to look at the front view again. 1, to see that it is above the plane. Back to 7. Okay, with the cone selected, I'm going to hit Shift D, which is duplicate, and I'm going to throw another cone up here, and then Shift D again, and I'm going to throw another cone down here. There's just a little obstacle course. Okay, now what do we want to do? And let's just go with a basic cube, and let's bring it over here. That'll work. 1 for front view. Let's bring that up above the plane. Okay. And 7 to top view. And now what? Let's give it something at the end. Let's do another cube. We'll drag it over right here. Let me scale that down in the x-axis. Okay, let's go to the front view. Let me scale it in the Z, and I'm just doing that by hitting S for scale and then Z for the Z-axis. Okay, and I'll drag that above the plane. There we go. And back to top view, 7. And let's scale this in the Y, make it bigger. So let's go back to the front view. Well, let's just do an angle view here. I'm just going to take the center mouse button and rotate it a little bit. There we go. So what we've got our cube, and what we'll do, we'll make it do a little slalom around this obstacle course, and then we'll get it to go over here and bump into that and then tip over. That way we get some rotation involved, not just moving. And again, this is just going to be very basic. So let me go back to the top view, and before I get started, let's set these colors. I want that orange. We'll pick this one. Pick the material ball. We'll make that orange. Pick this one. Pick the material ball. See how easy that is once if you establish your palette at the very beginning. Makes things pretty easy as you go. It's already there. You don't have to hunt and peck or try to match colors later. Okay, and I don't know what, let's make this yellow. This is like those concrete bumpers or whatever in a parking lot. Let's see what we got there. That looks pretty good. Okay, 7. Square everything back up. Okay, so I think we are ready to get started. So we have our cube, we have our obstacle course with the traffic cones, and we have a little bump stop here. So this is the start of our scene. And now we are going to move down here to the bottom, and you'll see this is a timeline, and it's there by default. These numbers here are frames, not seconds, so you need to keep that in mind. So if you have 30 frames and you have it set up to render 30 frames a second, then this would equal 1 second of video, and 2 seconds of video, and 3 seconds of video, and so on. So you just need to keep in your head that these are frames and not seconds. And by default, it opens up a video that is 250 frames long. You can change that. And you can change that down here. This tells you the frame you are currently working on. The start frame is 1, the end frame is 250. So very, very easy to manipulate. So we're going to start off here with frame number 1, and we're going to insert a keyframe. We're going to tell it to record the position that everything is in right now. Okay, and to do that, we very simply hit the I key. Insert keyframe menu. Okay, then we have these other options: location, rotation, scaling, or a combination of multiples. You can record the location and the rotation, or the location, the rotation, and the scale. Maybe we'll play with that one a little bit. And the rotation. We'll play around a little. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to set the first keyframe, so I, and I'm just going to say L. You see the underline there under the L and the R and the S. So once you hit the I, all you have to do is hit the L, and it will create a keyframe down here on the timeline. Now the green line is your cursor, but you can see through the green line there's a little yellow looks like line. That indicates that we have set our keyframe there. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to want to bring that cube down around this cone, and let's see, how quickly do I want it to get there? Let's say, I don't know, 10 frames. We'll try that. Okay, so we go to frame number 10. You see the cursor moved to frame 10. The keyframe that we set is still there. So now we're working on frame 10. We're going to take this cube and we are going to drag it where we want. Okay. Alright, and now we are going to say I for insert keyframe and L for location. So now we've recorded the new location. This is where Blender really pays off, because in a standard animation, which most people know, animation is made up of multiple still images packed together, kind of like a flip book. If you took a notepad and drew a picture and then went back one more page and drew another picture of the same thing but slightly different, and you carried on through the book that way, and then flip through the book, it appears like everything is moving. We're doing the same thing, but to save time, the benefit of Blender is we only have to tell it where to start, where to end, and how many frames we want it to take to get there. So Blender is going to fill out frame number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 for you. You don't have to redraw all that, and that is sweet. So we have set our keyframe here. Now if I go to frame, let's say 6, no, it's not going to move yet. We're still in, basically we're still creating it. So I thought it might jump back here. It just hasn't built them yet. Well, obviously we haven't rendered the video yet. So we've set our keyframes. Let me go back to 1. Did I forget to save it? Okay, let's go on to the next one first and we'll see. Let's go 13. No, let's go 15. And let's bring this box on around a little bit. Okay, and let's save it by hitting I, L. Okay, now let's go to 20. And we will bring it around a little more. And IL. And now let's go, let's take 30. And let's take it up here. IL. And frame 35. And let's bring it on around this cone. Oh, if I can get my mouse to work right. Okay. IL. $40. Uh-oh, what did I do? Where'd 40? Oh, I did not get it saved at 35. 35. Okay, 35. I did not come up because my mouse was not in the workspace. L. There, we got it. That may be what happened to frame 1. Is my I think my keyboard is a little bit dirty and needs a good cleaning because it's been acting up a little bit. Oh, and you see what I did there? I moved the block before choosing a frame. So now when I choose my frame, it's going to go back to its last saved location. I do that all the time. Okay, so now we're at frame 40. Now we can move it. Whoops. And now we can save it. Okay. And now let's go to frame 50. And let's drag it way down here. And let's save it. And 55. And save it. Almost there. And 60. And save it. Okay, now, whoops. Now let's go back to, let's say frame 10. Frame 1. I think I missed frame 1. I don't see a line there. 1. I did. Okay, so let's go back here and put frame 1 in. So you can go back and fill in. You can add any that you want or redo these. You can even type in frame 60 and put it where you want and hit IL and it will write over the old recording. Okay, so let's do frame 1 IL. Now that should have given us one. And we left off at frame 60. There we go. That's looking better. Okay, so now we've gone through the obstacle course and I've showed you using the keyframe and location. And this block will go around here. Let's spice up the animation just a little bit. Actually, what I would like to do, let's rotate by hitting R, Z, so that we rotate on the Z axis. And let's turn this trip hazard so that it matches kind of the angle this block's going to be approaching. Okay. And now what it's going to do, because we recorded everything with that straight, at the end of the video it's going to rotate this as this block comes around this cone, because I didn't plan that ahead and have this angle preset. But that's okay, we're playing. Alright, so now we're at 60. Well, we were. Let's play it. Let's see what we got. Stop. Frame 1. Play. Okay, so we're looking good. Alright, so now we are going to let's say 65. And we're going to bring this up and over a little bit. Keep in mind we've rotated this trip hazard. And now let's go ahead and pick this and let's rotate this on the Z. I don't know how far around I rotated it, but it's rotated. We'll see what it does. Okay, so now we are going to hit I for insert keyframe, and you know what? Let's do something else. Also, let's scale this. And it didn't work. I was trying something new. Let's try scale. Yes. Alt Z. Nope. Okay. Well, I thought I was going to try something new that I saw the other day, but let's still scale it, but we'll scale it bigger. I'll have to go to the front view and get it above the plane again. Okay, back to the top view, and this time we are going to say I, insert keyframe, and let's go down, and this time we're going to save the location and the rotation and the scale. Okay, and now that was frame 65. Now let's go frame 70. Enter. You can't forget the enter. And let's bring this up. And let's rotate this Z, RZ, and get it to match. Okay. And that right there is the point it's going to hit the bumper. So let's hit I, and this time we just need location and rotation. I don't think it would hurt if you saved the scale as well, but we're just trying different things. So location and rotation, let's save it. Alright, now what I want to do is I'm going to switch to the front view, and actually let's come on around here where I can see. There we go. And let's go to 70, frame number 75, enter, and let's rotate the cube. And then let's move the cube like that. Okay. To where it bumps it. Okay. And now we're going to say I, location and rotation. And now let's go to frame 80. And let's rotate it some more. Okay. And scoot it over. There we go. And bring it down. Okay. Now let's bring it this way. And that way. Let's kind of get it centered up where we want it. Okay. That looks pretty good. Okay. Now let's say I, location, rotation, and then one more. Let's drag it over and over. And rotate it. Touchy. Okay, and bring it down. Boom. Okay. Oh, you see what I did? I did it again. Forgot to set my frame first. 85. So we got to do that again. Takes practice. Eventually you'll remember to do that first every time. Rotate. And setting on the plane. That looks pretty good. Okay, so I and location. Alright, so we should have it. We went 85 frames long, so let's shorten this up now. We don't want a bunch of just dead air space, so we went 85. Let's go 90. And let's play it, see what it looks like. And we slalom through there. Goes through and then scales up and trips. Now I see we're hitting the cones, but we'll live with that. It's just an example. Okay, so let's stop that and let's try looking at it with a little different view. Let's go see if it looks any better in material view. Oh no. Don't like that. Okay. So we have that set up. Now what? Okay. So the next thing we need to do now is render it. But before we can render it, anything to be rendered has to be seen through the camera lens, and I don't have a camera set up here. So we are going to zoom out and we're going to add a camera. Add a camera. And we are going to bring it out here. And we are going to rotate in the Z. No, let's not yet. Let me go to the side view. Okay, let's rotate in the X. R, X. Okay. And let's raise it up. There we go. Now let's go to the top view and rotate in the Z. Because I found that if you rotate in the Z first, then when you go to rotate in the X and Y, it starts twisting and turning and gets out of whack. But as long as you leave it directly in an X or Y direction, when you do your raise and lower, it will keep the camera flat and level. Okay, so now let's take a look at what the camera sees. And you can do that by hitting 0 on the number pad. And now we can see what the camera sees. Okay, and let's run the video. Okay, now I'll tell you that I left the first cone and the starting point out of the camera's view on purpose. And I did that to illustrate that you can have items off scene ready to come into the animation if you want, and as long as it's not in the camera view, it will not be included in the animation once you render it. So the first cone and the setting off to the side is not going to be recorded. Now I can stop it and go back to top view, and if I get back farther, let's see what I can get there. Now back to the camera view with 0. Now let's see what we get. Okay, and you see that the block is just partially, it's partially in the view when we start, but it just kind of comes in from off camera. That's good enough. We're going to go with that. Okay, now let's stop this. And just to help things along, let me add a light or two in here for the rendered view. Lamp, point. And front view, let's bring that lamp up. Okay, and can we duplicate that? We can. Okay, So there we go. Now we've got our lamp. It's a point light, and let's change it to, let's give it some more light. And let's change this one. And let's see what we got now. Camera view. Now what happens if we go to rendered view just to take a look? Ooh, man, that's too bright. Okay, let's say yeah, there we're getting better. I washed it out. Haven't played with lights yet. That's going to be another video after I learn some more. There, we're starting to get back in there. Let's go 25. We're starting to get there. And 15. So I can tell you I have learned some things in this video. Alright, so there's the rendered view of what the video will look like when it comes out. I do not want to run it. My computer doesn't have enough power to run the animation in rendered view. Let's try it in material. I believe I can run it in material, so it gives you a pretty close estimation of what it's going to look like. And I think we have it. So what you've seen so far, that's pretty simple. Just inserting keyframes on your timeline and recording the location, rotation, and scale, or any combination thereof, and you're sitting pretty good. Okay, so, and you know I've showed you how to change your views. You can change it to solid view, you can change it to wireframe. So that looks pretty good. Let's stop that there. Alright, now let's go back to the front view, no, the top view, and let's zoom in. Okay, so there it is. Nothing fancy. Got some issues that need to be worked out, and like I said in the beginning, you could spend forever on these things and you just kind of get lost in your work. But I think what I've done is be able to point out how easy it is to use keyframes, and now you can let your imagination take over and design whatever you want. I guess here at the end what I will do is I'll show you a little bit here. This camera right here is your render view, or your render tab on your toolbar, and it brings up the render menu. Now you can render with this button, you can render a single image of whatever frame you're on, and it will generate the image for you, and it will save it as a PNG file in whatever output folder you put it in. The other option is animate, and that will save an animation of all the frames from 0 to 9, or from 1 to 90, and it will also save it in the temp folder or wherever you set the output folder. And I'll tell you, it takes quite a while. You know, this one probably won't take forever because it's pretty short, but the animation at the front of my channel, it took probably 3 or 4 hours to render. Also, I forgot to mention, these are your render engines. Now, Blender Render is supposed to be pretty good at rendering most things. The game renderer, Blender Game, that is designed for more action. I don't know all the details. I can't tell you about those, but I will say that I was showed how to do it using Cycles Render for the animations. So that's what I will do with this, Cycles Render. Blender Render might work perfectly fine. You could play with it and see. The other thing is, you have the option of saving this animation as like an AVI video, and then you would have one file. Or you have the option of saving it as 90 still images that you can use as a slideshow or put together as a movie in other software. Now, I chose to do my animation in single image files, and then I use those in Streamlabs for my animation. I put those together as a slideshow. And the reason I did that is, once you render this animation as an AVI file, it is one compressed file. You can't go back and edit it really. I mean, somebody might be able to, but I can't. But if I save it as still images, then I can take any one or all of those images and put them in any decent photo editing software. For example, mine, we put a tabletop in here, and I did not want that, so I didn't want any background. So what I ended up doing, if you don't put a tabletop in there, I think it comes out, everything comes out gray, like the outer walls and the floor. So what I did was I took all of my images from my render and put them in Photoshop, and then I just clicked on the background wall and the table and hit delete, and then I had a transparent image. So all I had was my objects moving in space, and that way you could see the overlays and the camera views and any text in my Streamlabs. You could see them through the animation. It gives me more flexibility. So that's the way I save it. And you choose that right here. This is your output file. Now, right now it's set to PNG, which is what I use. It's a lossless or nearly lossless image format. JPEG compresses some of your images, so you lose a little bit of detail. So I don't use JPEG. I use the PNG. I think a Targa file, a Targa RAW, I think those are lossless also. Or maybe TIFF. TIFF, I think, is a high quality one. I don't know. I use PNG. But you do have the option, and if you set it to AVI JPEG or FF MPEG video, any of these, this will put out just one file, and it'll be a video file. So you have that option, or the still image. I recommend the still images, but that's because I'm better at dealing with Photoshop and starting to learn Inkscape. So that's what we have. Now, I will not render this right now, because the second I hit the render button, my computer will freeze up, and then that will be the end of this video. So I don't want to do that. But you see what it's going to do and how it's going to create it, and you decide how you want it output and where you want it output. Okay, so I think that pretty much covers everything I have to show you. Let me go back here to my overlay. Alright, And hopefully that helps somebody out. Hopefully it inspires somebody to do a little playing with the animation and using the keyframes. One thing I've found about Blender is when you first get into it, it seems so overwhelming. But if you take it one little tool at a time, you can learn how to do a lot of neat things with it. So don't let it shy you away from trying things. And that's my goal with this series, is to take little things as I learn them and help share them with you guys. And hopefully we can get more people interested. So for now, I will get out of here. Again, I will ask you to please hit the subscribe button at the end of the video. Help me build this channel. And YouTube will probably pop a video over here in the corner. It'll suggest something for you to watch. I hope you go over and watch the next one. And I think right here will be the subscribe button. So thank you for checking in and watching my video, and I appreciate it, and I hope to see you again soon. Thank you and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.